Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Corey Rosen, and you're listening to the Story Podcast. Today, I have on a super awesome guest, Mr. Jon Garcia. Harrisburg, PA's Jon Garcia of Jon Garcia and the Hopeless Romantics has been honing his infectious brand of pop rock since 2013. Fans of Reliant K and Switchfoot will take note of the anthemic quality and beautiful melodies present in each of his tracks. Growing up in Los Angeles, California, his family relocated east to the shores of Havre de Grace, Maryland, at the mouth of the Susquehanna River and at the head of the Chesapeake Bay. While in Havre de Grace, he spent a considerable amount of time in and around Baltimore, Maryland's music scene, playing shows at the Ottoman Sidebar, the Record Theater, World Cafe in Wilmington, Delaware, Angels Rock Bar, Fish Head Cantina, UMBC, Quadimania, Towsons, Raven Inn, and many other venues in the tri-state region, where he later ventured into the central PA music community. While his backing band, the Hopeless Romantics, has undergone a few lineup changes over the years, one key element of the music is undeniable: Garcia's purpose and drive to find the tastiest pop hooks that he can still stake a claim to, and record them to the sheer delight of his audiences. He has performed in the Millennial Music Conference, also in Harrisburg, and singer-songwriter Kate May in New Jersey, Dewey Beach Music Conference in Ocean City, Maryland. So, in short, if you are in the mood for some sweet pop rock indie jams, be sure to check out I did it again. Jon Garcia and the Hopeless Romantics, coming to a town near you.
It's all good. It's a lot of words there.
It is a lot of words there. Anyway, Jon, how are you doing today?
Dude, I'm good, man. I'm excited. Really, really excited. Been looking forward to this, since we talked. What was that?
Like a month ago or something.
A month ago. Yeah, definitely just great conversation. But, yeah, no, I've just been excited about all this.
So let's get right into it, diving right down deep into you are born and raised in Los Angeles, California. Does your music journey start there or later?
No, it starts way later. Because my dad worked for a Christian organization called World Vision, and / he was like a missionary and like all that stuff. And so he was like in and out, and then not to mention he had like a third job to where he was working for like a uniform company, and so he was like nonstop, basically from this location from the East Coast and then all the way to the West Coast. And he did that basically for about 2 years. And then after that, he was like, all right, well, I need to make a decision here. Am I going to stay here in the West Coast? And he had some job opportunities that were really, really cool. And then he was like, all right, well, I just need to really go off of this opportunity. And basically, I'm going to take a risk here. And so that's what he did. He moved to Maryland. And then basically, when I was music has always been involved in my life. Basically, I grew up in a Christian church and everything like that, always being a part of the worship team and stuff like that with my mom. And then when I really just started writing, it really just started for me when I was 16 or 15, and I just wanted to write my own stuff, and I started writing with my sister, and so we did that for a little bit. My sister Jess, who I was a part of a media production company called Springwood Productions, and so we did that for a little bit, and then basically right after high school and everything like that, I started to get really serious about my music. So around 17 or 18 is when I started to get really, really serious. And then I was just playing these coffee houses because I had some songs and I was really stoked on them. And I was just like, hey, let's try these songs out. Let's see where they go. And then after I did those songs, I was like, all right, whatever. And then a bunch of my friends hit me up and they were like, hey, these are actually some good songs, man. And I was like, I'll be honest with you, I was about to throw them all away. And they're like, no, you should definitely play a lot more coffee houses. So that's kind of how it started for me. And then because for the longest time, I just wanted to start my own band. I'm not a person that's I tell your friend and my friend Noah,
Right.
I like this all the time. I'm just I'm not a person to get up in front and just be like, "Hey, this is me." Like, yeah, I know it's named Jon Garcia and I Hope Semantics, but I'm just not that type of person.
Right.
Like, I'm very much about like doing something like as a community, as a unit, as like, "Hey, let's do this together."
Hmm.
And so that's kind of like how that whole entire thing started with JHR. And so basically, I was trying to form a band for a little bit, and my bandmates just kept on telling me, they're like, "Yeah, it's cool, but these songs are really good, and so, like, maybe we should be your backing band, and you should do that." And so that's what I did, and, one of my old guitar players came up with a name called Jon Garcia and the Hopeless Romantics, my friend Chris Allen, and I was like, "Nah, that's stupid." I thought it was
Right.
dumb. I really did. I thought it was dumb. I thought the whole name was dumb. I was like, "No one's ever gonna buy into this name. I don't
It's
like
such
this
a
name."
cheesy one, isn't it?
Yeah, it was cheesy, it was corny, and I was very into, like, indie rock, grunge, like, let's go for it, like Struts
Hmm.
type of music, and so I just wasn't into that, and so, it just kinda grew on me, and I was, like, maybe 3 or 2 days later, I was like, "This is awesome, like, let's do this." So that's kinda how it started, and, we we basically for a while there, were just, like, playing music, together, um and that's kinda how the journey of JHR kinda started and just turned into this pop rock thing, and then now it has just turned into an indie pop project, and I'm really excited about it.
And so, how long has it been since you started that? It's like what?
Yeah, it's been a solid, like, 8 to 10 years. It
So, how have you seen? How has the band changed? You mentioned that the lineup hasn't always been the same.
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, being a solo artist, I mean, more so embracing that. I feel like a lot of times, like, just embracing that whole entire culture of being a solo artist and accepting that you're not always gonna have the same band.
Mm.
That's just the truth. You're, like there's been a lot of denial with that. There's been a lot of, like, "Oh, man, we need to have, like, the same lineup and everything like that." But that's just the truth. You're not gonna always have the same lineup, and you need to be able to have the positivity out of that and the negativity out of that, and I feel like if you're so focused on just, like, one thing and you're like, "No, I need to accomplish this," you're kinda fighting against the wind there, you know
Mm.
what I mean? And so, like, the way that it was, like, towards me, Corey, was just, like, for a while there, I was fighting against it, and I wasn't embracing who I was individually as a solo artist. And I feel like that's the thing that, like, you kinda just gotta find, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's just like that's sort of like how it was for me, and then it's crazy saying like 8 to 10 years later, but like because it didn't even feel like it. But like 8 to 10 years later, I finally found who I am. And like the music that I'm creating with Josh Angle, Carl Bonner, and like Noah Altoff right now is just it's incredible, and it's finally I feel like I'm finally saying what I wanna say instead of feeling like I'm in a box of what I'm supposed to say.
I see.
And so I feel like a lot of artists, like, go through that journey, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like because it's like, "Oh, well, what's trending or what's in?" And especially, like, in the saturated market that we're in, and it's like, "Oh, what's popular?" And it's like, "Dude,
Doesn't
forget
matter.
that." Like, forget that. Embrace who you are, like, embrace your vulnerability. Like, embrace being honest, like, don't fake it, man, just because it's popular. Like, just be true and honest of who you are, and, like and sorry to flip-flop a little bit all over the place, but, like, with me and Noah's, like, relationship, that is one of the things that, like, he really encouraged me to do is just, like, you don't have to be this person that everybody wants you to be. Just be yourself, bro. So that so I hope that I hope that's not too confusing for you.
No, well, it's kind of been a theme of the podcast is that you got to be who you are. Can't copy nobody else
Yep,
because only you can be you. And the only way to gain true, authentic fans is to be you.
yep. And sometimes that's a long journey.
It is. Sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah, and sadly for me, that's just what it took, you know? It's just like when you do music from like such a young age, you figure a lot of growing pains out. And it's either you can embrace those growing pains or you can figure it out along the way. And for
Hmm.
me, it was just a little bit both. And so, but I'm just glad to be at the spot that I'm at right now.
So, having that changing lineup, going back to that,
Yeah,
have you had songs that you've actually like quote unquote remastered or redone because these other people had different ideas or?
I would say the simple answer is no.
Okay.
The simple answer is no there, and hence is why we've held the EP out for so long because we have an EP called the Kiss Kiss EP that will be dropping in June this summer that we're really, really, really stoked about. And it's like I said, I mean, like you've changed as a person, you've
Hmm.
changed as an artist. Like I hate it when bands are like, "Hey, I'm gonna keep on pushing this off," and then 2 years later, that hype is not there anymore. You know, and it's like you lost that momentum.
Right.
You lost people's interest and stuff like that. And those are things that I learned too. And so it's just the simple answer there is the main reason why I didn't drop a lot of that stuff is because personally I just wasn't proud of it. I wasn't proud of the things that were coming out of that studio at the time. And I was going through the trial and error of like figuring out my team and the team and that team knowing me really well. And the truth is I just worked with a lot of people that I just weren't going with that vision.
Mm.
And I had to figure that out, and they had to figure that out too. We're all good. It's just that's how it happened.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's never as simple as picking a studio and just doing
You
it.
think so?
You would think, yeah, you would.
You think so?
You
You
really
think so
would.
when you and that's the thing. Like I hate it like when people like dig at pop because like they're like oh yeah, just stick a bass drum behind it and you'll be fine. And I just think it's not as simple as putting an Adele record
Right.
because like there are a lot of layers to Adele's records. Like if you really look at the authentic like songwriting that Adele does and her collaborative process, I mean, I'm pretty sure like her last two records were put through at least like 5 or 10 revisions to where she sent it to the record label and she was like, "Yo, is this good?" And they're like, "Nope, that's not it.
Mm.
That's not it. That's not it." And I think that's one of the things that I've learned in the 8 to 10 years. It's just like be patient, be persistent, keep on going on with what you're doing, and then one day these things will start building up for you. And that's kind of what happened to me recently. Was like I stopped trying to be somebody that everybody wanted me to be, and now I'm embracing who I am now.
For those of you guys just joining, I'm seeing a lot of people joining on your live stream. This is the Story Podcast, and feel free to add in all the questions that you have to ask for John, because we'll get around to them at some point.
Yep.
So you had talked about finding the right people, finding the right visions. What is your vision as John Garcia and the Hopeless Romantics?
Yeah, so I think if anything, really changed this last summer when me and Noah were like talking about what we wanted to do and what we wanted JHR to be and what we wanted it to actually. We didn't want it to actually just be a quirky, a quirky Jonas Brothers, cute. This guy writes some love songs about some girls and we'll call it a
Right.
day.
It sounds
Like,
right up there, like with My Chemical Romance or something
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it was one of those things to where I used to embrace like that type of thing. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong.
But
It's very
but
successful.
it was but it's also one of them things to where that's not all that I wanted out of it. And I
Mm.
was changing as a person to where it's like, dude, I was talking about this at Darker with Daniel with Alan and all those guys. It's just like my life had just changed
Mm.
since the pandemic, like in the last 3 years, because like we just had our first kid, you know, like
Just change.
yeah, like your life just turns upside down. You see the value of life, and it's just like it's not about you anymore,
Right.
you know. And it's just like, and you more value the things that you assumed or in your like left corner. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And so I think like that's the other thing that just really changed for me was just being that way about it. And so my main vision for John Garcia and the Hopeless Romantics is just like just be real, be you, be in the moment, and just be authentic.
So with that in mind, how does your songwriting process work? Is it collaborative with
Oh,
Noah or?
100%. 100%. I think if anything, we really embrace the Zoom culture. We
Mm.
really embraced the Zoom culture during the pandemic because basically how it happened for us was that I was getting the Kiss Kiss EP wrapped with a friend of mine, and it just wasn't working out. And we were trying to make it work, but it just wasn't working out. And I was done recording it. Like, this was my fifth go around with it. And I was just like, I was done. I want to record something new. And so we worked on that song called Forget It. And I was really stoked about it. And I was like, let's definitely like do something really cool here. And so what had happened was when I brought it to my friend Josh Engel. What's funny about it is that I had brought this song to him like 2 years ago, had a really awesome like type of experience, and we just weren't able to link up just because of life and
Mm.
everything like that. And so basically, what had happened 2 years later, he hits me up and he's like, "Dude, I really want to get this song done," and I was just like, "You know what? Let's do it." And so we booked something. We got the song done maybe in like 3 days, mixed and mastered, all that stuff recorded. It was a really quick turnaround. And you can just hear it in the track. It's really authentic and all that stuff. And I just remember sitting back with Josh and just being like, we might have something here. Like, it shouldn't be this easy. Like,
Right.
because when you go through like such a difficult process of everything, you're just like, it shouldn't be this easy. Like, how is this thing done already? But it should be at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. And so I was talking with Noah at that same time, and I was like, I really want to get like a power lineup of creatives together and stuff like that. Because I was just seeing at that time, and he was seeing at that time, to where it's just like, especially in the pop world, is like getting a bunch of just collaborators in a room and let's just write.
Right.
Like, even if it's just bad,
It's
let's
gonna be
just,
fun.
yeah, let's
Yeah.
write some demos. Let's just get all this stuff just like going. And so that's just what we did. And that was basically really where a lot of things changed. Where I would send Noah stuff and he would send me stuff. And then I would send Josh stuff. And it just became more of a authentic thing to where it wasn't like, oh, it's not supposed to sound this way. And that mentality just left.
Mm.
And that's when it became more of an enjoyable thing and that passion just came back.
So we have Forget It lined up.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Yeah, so Forget It was very much where I was at that time, and I was basically in a place to where I just moved here to Harrisburg, and I I basically reached the place to where I was just kind of done with fake relationships, and I was just like, you know what? Forget this. I'm just not doing this no more. That's not and I'm talking romantic relationships,
Right.
friendships,
Gotcha.
just weeding people out.
Right.
And it was more geared towards a romantic relationship to where at that time I was single and dude, I was a man whore, man. Going through things left and right. And and it's just that's how it was. And you know, there was a lot of learning lessons there, but it was just a lot of just people just wasting my time. And because I was looking for a relationship and I was like, I just don't understand why this isn't working.
Mm.
And, you know, I would feel like something was going there and I'd be like, oh, this is so dope. And then immediate ghost. And I'm just like, what? What's happening here? And it just happened enough times to where I was just like, yeah, forget this. And I love that line. And that's kind of where that authenticness like started to happen, where I was really writing songs about what I was feeling. And at that same time is when I started to write No.
Mm.
Like No pretty much followed pretty quickly after that because like I said, I lived in Maryland for about, 10 years and I done that thing, and I worked for a media production company called Springwood Productions, and it was great and stuff like that. But it was time. It was time to do. Me and my sister are really close friends and stuff like that, and it just come to a place to where we were like, hey, it's just better for us to just do our own dreams. Um and so I went to Harrisburg because I felt like there was a lot of opportunity.
Mm.
And basically Jess had went to LA. And so I was like, okay, cool, let's do that. And so that was very much me discovering life here in Harrisburg really on my own for the first time. And just being with a lot of my friends that are like, yeah, we're going to work with you. We're going to do this, 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 this. And I'm like, awesome, let's do it. And then I get there and it's just like,
Nothing.
dip.
Yep.
And
course.
and it's just like that's kind of how Know and Forget It were born, because I was just like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm not gonna let somebody like dictate my life in this way or define who I am. And so I was just like kind of learning that lesson of independency and really growing up in the last like 3 years. Like I said, like us having a kid, me being together with my fiance Denver, and that's been going great. And it's just that it just really just growing up, and just changing my direction in life. And obviously my music changed. And so as you heard, like
Right.
but yeah, no, that's I hope that's not too complicated of an
Oh.
answer.
Well, with that said, this is Forget It by Jon Garcia.
Forget it.
Wish I was Superman. You wouldn't know who I am. Who was Clark Kent without a cape? You're playing on you. I can't get a beep out of you. I try to talk, but you won't give me a break. Oh, I don't know if I should continue. It might be better to cut you off. The lightest, baby, there's a vein of it. Oh, forget it, forget this. Oh, I don't wanna know you well. Oh, I shouldn't have to try this on. Taking every day. Oh, forget it, forget this. Oh, I've gotten the tons of it too. No, I don't want it, know you. You're a modern day villain. You play pretend. Oh, then I won't entertain your game. Survival, you lie and move. I won't be controlled by you. Only one can of soup. There's more to your game. Oh, I don't know if I should continue. It might be better to cut you off. The liars, baby, there's a vein of it. Oh, forget it, forget this. Oh, I don't wanna know you well. Oh, I shouldn't have to try this on. Taking every day. Oh, forget it, forget this. Oh, I've gotten the tons of it too. No,
And that was Forget It by Jon Garcia and the Hopeless Romantics. Dude, what a head-banging song that is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird because like some of the things I was listening to at the time, I was really into the Struts.
Mm.
I was really into the Struts. I was really into Grace Potter and the Nocturnals. If you don't know them, they're awesome. Really, really, really dope. And I was listening to a lot of Bon Iver.
Mm.
Yeah, Bon Iver is my jam all day. Like I will listen to Bon Iver because he's so good. Even Kanye was saying like about Bon Iver, like how he gets like so much inspiration from him because he's just so much like next level. Like
Check him out. I've never heard of.
you ever heard
This-
Bon Iver?
Listen,
Yo!
people think because I run a music podcast, I know everything music. It is not true
Yeah,
whatsoever.
no, I wouldn't assume that.
My cup of tea is 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s pop music. That's my cup of tea.
Dude,
That's
there's
it.
nothing wrong with that. What
No.
are you into?
Elton John, favorite, Queen, that whole era, Bon Jovi, all that stuff.
I can see why you would know a vibe because like we play an Elton John cover of Saturday Night,
Yes.
and that's a fun one to do. And there was one time I was thinking about starting a Queen cover band.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, no, there was one time we were thinking about it, but it just didn't work out that way. But anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's all I had to say about that. But in regards to your music, you have No coming out. You
Mhm.
have other stuff coming out. Is this a? What can we expect for 2023?
I think if anything, and that is not a simple answer.
It is not a simple.
No, it's not a simple answer. Okay, so I'll just start out with this. No is such a special track to me for all of the reasons that I told you. Just moving from Maryland to Harrisburg at that time, and it was just such a interesting process because when I first started writing No, I kind of wanted it to be a track that nobody heard because it was really me just being honest, like really honest about my life, really honest about where I was at and how I just felt. And it wasn't as simple as just friendships or like dating stuff. It was just, I was just done. I was done with being treated so badly. And that's just where I was at. It wasn't like that with all the relationships, but for a majority it was. And I had just came to a place where I was like, no, forget this. I'm not doing this no more. And if I did drop it, I wanted it to be really, really well done. And I knew the right person to do it was Noah Altoff. And we had talked. Basically, this song is about 3 years old. We had really kept it on the back burner, me and Noah, for a long time because we wanted it to be special. We wanted it because we knew the potential of it. We knew that like if we do this right, like we'll be able to, I guess, connect with a lot of our fans on a really deep and emotional way, and we'll be able to create a movement. And that's kind of sort of what's happened with our team. Everybody that has just heard the song, with my manager, Alexandra Herman, like that's one of the reasons why she signed on with us. Like she's like, this is a powerful song. With our friend Callie, who did the graphic for it, like we didn't tell her anything that we wanted with the graphic. We were like, here's some basic ideas, but but she kind of just went for it. And Callie and Alex just killed it. And it just that's kind of sort of been the journey with JHR recently. That has been our identity to where it's just like, don't be dictated based upon like something that somebody else wants for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just do what you feel like what is right and go for it. And I feel like there's so much power behind that. And so that's something that was really hard for me to do. And because you're really just putting yourself out there and just being like, All right, let's go for this. And so, with that said, we posted about this like about a couple weeks ago. We're gonna be dropping that single on New Year's Eve, and then we're gonna be dropping the music video on New Year's Day. We just shot the music video, the live stuff. Then we'll be shooting some stuff tomorrow, in Philly with our friend Bob McCoy. He's done stuff for Era. He's done stuff for Texas in July. He's done stuff for August Burns Red. He's done stuff for actually Josh's band, both bands, Illusion of Solace and Elsewhere. And he's just phenomenal. He's been absolutely great with that whole entire experience. Totally, that's another one. Like he vibed with our journey.
Mm.
When me and Noah like sat down during our Zoom calls, like early on, like this was maybe in July. We were sitting down and we were like, this is what we want to do. We really want to capture like this feeling of vulnerability of just being done with somebody and being like, if it was an abusive relationship that you were done with, or if like it was a friendship that you had been with somebody for a while and you were just done with their stuff, and like where would you be at? And we all go through that type of stuff, and that's why we were so big on like we need to do this right. The release of this needs to be done right, and this is the new journey for JHR, and that's why we call it the new era. And it's just like in a lot of ways, like JHR's past is the past,
Mhm.
but in a lot of ways, that's why we say like the future is now for us, and just really just embracing that moment. And like that's why I feel like a lot of more of the newer stuff that we're working on right now, because this new one I'm working on called Paper Family, which I'm so stoked about, um, talks about that same thing. And it's just, I'm really, really, and it's not aimed towards my family or anything like that. It's just people who can just be plastic and fake, and you gotta move forward. And so we don't. When people ask me like, "Oh, what's the journey?" I'm like, I don't know, man. We're just embracing the moment, and we're seeing where it takes us. We have goals, yeah, but like our main thing is just like, especially with production and uh, authenticity or whatever, as like you know what I mean.
Right, right,
You know what I
right.
mean. It's just our main thing is being able to connect with people,
Mhm.
and if we are able to have a voice for people, like even if it's just one person, that's all I care about. Because that's what music is. You know what I mean? Like I remember growing up and just with CD players and like and having like just cheap earphones and just putting the CD player and just like listening to Switchfoot or listening to Reliant K or listening to Linkin Park and being like, how the heck does this guy know what I'm feeling? And
Mhm.
that's the way I write music. Is like it's not about career aspirations or anything like that. I just don't look at music that way, man. Like the way that I look at it is it's like, yeah, it's cool we accomplished that, but whose life did we affect?
Mm.
Like what's the meaning behind this? And so like that's kind of how the band has changed. Is our main goal for the next year is what we're focused on right now is our single for No, the impact that we're obviously have a lot of plans for TikTok and like all those things, the Spotify playlisting. There's going to be a lot of really cool things that we're going to be doing with our campaigns, and then and in terms of the middle of that, we have a live Christmas show that we're going to be doing on the 22nd with Lynn Hurst's Kevin, who plays rhythm guitar for Lynn Hurst. And so that's gonna be really awesome. So we're gonna be doing that. We'll definitely like put a link below in the live stuff. But yeah, so we're just been doing like a bunch of like your favorite holiday covers.
Mhm.
And then obviously we'll be dropping No, and then we'll be dropping the music video for that. Then we have a show with Jimmy's Chicken Shack. At JB Love Drafts because of Nick Myers, and Nick Myers is amazing. We love Nick, he's awesome. And so yeah, we're gonna be playing with a bunch of just really dope bands. And then we're just gonna really just be taking a little bit of a break just in terms of like flexing our arms and everything like that. And then the goal is basically for us to drop our EP on June 23rd. That's the goal, and that's as far as I will give you in terms of details. I know the details, but I'm not gonna
Right, of
give it.
No, it's
There are also some other sneak peeks of things that we potentially will be dropping some things prior to the show at JB's. We have some really, really awesome things planned out. That, but in terms of goals, like that's our main goal. That's our main goal. I mean, like we're gonna be doing a mini tour in June too. So that's also for that. But that's the most I will give you. But just like the team that we just have, and it's just expanding, has just really been built on that authenticity type of vibe. And Alexandria Herman has just been so great to us since day one. Like since day one has just helped us out, just expand that idea, expand that heart of just being like, hey, what are more ways that you can connect with your fans? What are more ways that you can get messages out to your fans and everything like that? And so like that's our main goal. As long as we're able to connect with our fans and we're able to connect with our community that we're creating, we've done our job. And that's all we care about.
That's good. So I have a question. How do you translate what you put into your single on stage?
How do you mean?
So, like for example, I'm hearing all these synths, everything, a lot of things going on. How do you translate that onto a stage?
Backing tracks, man. I mean, like that's
Really?
just yeah. So basically, GHR right now, it's just a lot of session players. So like Noah will play like a rhythm guitar for us. He'll play rhythm slash lead, and most of the time I'll play rhythm. It's mainly just three of us. So we'll have me playing rhythm guitar, and then Noah will do his thing. And then we'll have a drummer right behind us. It's either our friend Tristan Miller from Big Fat Minis, who's awesome, or we'll have some other players that will play with us. And the reason we did it this way was it's also because of that singer songwriter thing. Is that like we're able to control our foundation, we'll be good. And so like, and we also just kind of embrace that too, that culture of just being like, I feel like a lot of people in Central PA typically do this too. It's just like, oh, well, you don't have a band unless you have like a rhythm guitarist or a lead guitarist or a bass player, all that stuff. And like, what I say to that is like, why are you limiting creativity?
Right.
And like, there's not like some of my favorite bands are duos. Like Civil Wars is a great band. A great band. I mean, like, I can name so many bands that I'm really into this one band called Fly by Midnight. Fly by Midnight's a really dope band that's just blowing up right now. And they're just a duo project, and they just have a drummer behind them like all the time. And it's because like they have a lot of backing tracks, and they're using like so what we use is we use an XR for our backing tracks for in-ears and all that stuff. And so how we would do no is that same thing. so but that also means we got to be like
On it.
on that click.
Yes.
That means you got to practice.
That'd be scary to
like it's scary, but it's also like, all right, if you're good, let's go.
Right.
And
I don't know. That sketches me out because I like to jam on songs.
I'm there
to,
with you.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm there with you. I'm definitely there. I'm not saying that there isn't that option to be
Oh,
able
of
to
course.
do that. You just got to be locked in.
Right.
And you got to be good. And I think that's also with our practices in terms of like being professionals, because like when we do our practices, that's no joke. It's like, all right, we're given an hour just because our lives, like, 'cause I'm a dad, dude. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right, yeah.
Like most I can give you is like 2 hours and stuff like that, and I work like a 9 to 5. So and most of these guys do work 9 to 5s, and so and that's just kind of like the deal there. Is like we gotta do our practices quick, and that's why most of the time I tell my players, I'm like, hey, practice your stuff, or you're gonna mess up. And so it's just like,
Mhm.
that's just what it is. Like,
Well,
you
you're right.
just, it like, I've given you the homework. All right.
Do it.
We're good to go. Like, there should be no reason why we're not ready, because like a lot of times I'll give the BPMs, chord charts, lyrics, like I'll give instrumentals and things like that, to where it's just like, all right, you have no excuse
Mhm.
why we should not be good. So, and that's there's mainly a reason why I do that, is because like I've had a lot of practices before to where it's just been like just a lot of energy just put into just 30 minutes. And don't get me wrong, you definitely need to put that amount of energy, but the way that I see it is like, hey, let's like, if you can practice this at home,
Do it at home.
do it at home, and so we can be in a better position when we're actually jamming.
Right.
And so that's just the way that I've changed like how I go about things, because again, I have so much limited time. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Oh, and you're absolutely right, because I mean that should be the standard, at least, for any band.
I
Even
just think that's just growing up.
well, yeah, of
Yeah,
course, but like you said, that it's only respectful, if anything,
100%.
to have practiced your stuff at home, especially if you like grow up in like a high school band. That's what
Yeah, but it also like that's my journey.
Right.
That like that's what's good and feasible for me. I know bands that like practice every single week.
Oh yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
Like the Lenhurst guys practice all the time. So like so like I'm not saying like there's anything wrong with that or anything like that. I just think it just depends on like what you want to do though. You know what
That's
I
fair.
mean?
Yeah.
And like what's feasible for you, because like some guys are just into like, all right, that's cool. Yeah, I could show up like as a session player. But I know guys that are just like, I actually want to connect with you because I want to do the grind with you.
I see.
You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, that's fair.
So it just depends like what you want out of it. That's the way I would see that situation.
You mentioned doing some Christmas covers.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how you manipulate old 50s Christmas tunes into
Oh
punk rock,
man. Oh
indie
man.
pop.
I think each song is different. Each song is different because like when we did Jingle Bell Rock, yeah, because when we did Jingle Bell Rock, me and Josh got together and we were like, it was more so of an idea, because when we had our release party, we were like, all right, so what's next? Like, and I was just wanted to put a pop punk, Reliant K, type of cover out, and that's it. Like, I was just gonna put something out like that, just for content and everything
Mhm.
like that, and it just did not turn into that. We created something that was totally unique and different, and definitely was out of my creative zone, and more so in Josh's creative zone. And Josh's wings were really able to flex, in that, and it turned into very much this rock and roll version of Jingle Bell Rock that I just never expected. And he definitely challenged me in a lot of areas that I did not expect to be challenged, even vocally. I didn't even expect to be challenged in those areas. And we came up with something pretty awesome. We were really stoked on it. I'm pretty sure the CPMA shared it. We
That's
were
cool.
we were pretty excited about that. And one of my best friends is pretty big tribute to that. Ryder was a big part of playing into that, and that's also another guy that's a part of our team. Like Chris has been such a big support of Jon Garcia and Hope for Semantics, like since he's known us, and like yeah, I can just say so many good things about Chris. But yeah, so like in terms of like that stuff, the main inspiration was content. We never thought we would take the routes that we have, even with like what are you doing New Year's Eve? Like we never thought it was gonna be this like ambient type
Mm.
of thing. We just thought we would just do like plug in our acoustic guitars, do a a simple thing like Zoe Chanel and Justin Gordon-Levitt do. Just hook up a guitar and a ukulele, and let's just make it sound cute. But we just never thought we would just turn it into like this very like Hillsong / ambient type of thing, and it just turned out to be that way. And so, but what we'll be doing for the live streams is nothing like that. We'll just be me and Kevin. We'll just be hooking up the acoustic guitar, and just my vocals and just ranting about ranting about our holiday traditions with our families and everything like that, and probably like our gift lists of things that we want for Christmas. And everything like that. So it's just gonna be a good time. It's just gonna be a really good time. We thought it would be really good because like Christmas is gonna be right around the corner
Mhm.
and everything like that. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, with that all said, this is Jon Garcia's and the Hopeless Romantics version of Jingle Bell Rock.
Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bell swing and jingle bell ring. Snowing and blowing up, bushels of fun. Now the jingle up has begun. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bell chime and jingle bell time. Dancing and prancing in Jingle Bell Square. In a frosty air. What a right time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Jingle bell time, it's a swell time to go gliding in a one-horse sleigh. Giddy up, jingle bells, pick up your feet, jingle around the clock. Mix and a mingle and a jingling beat. That's the Jingle Bell Rock. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bell swing and jingle bell ring. Snowing and blowing up, bushels of fun. Now the jingle up has begun. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bell chime and jingle bell time. Dancing and prancing in Jingle Bell Square. In a frosty air. What a right time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Jingle bell time, it's a swell time to go gliding in a one-horse sleigh. Giddy up, jingle bells, pick up your feet, jingle around the clock. Mix and a mingle and a jingling beat. That's the Jingle Bell Rock. What a right time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Giddy up, jingle bells, pick up your feet, jingle around the clock. Mix and a mingle and a jingling beat. That's the Jingle Bell, that's the Jingle Bell, that's the Jingle Bell Rock.
And that was Jingle Bell Rock by Jon Garcia and the Hopeless Romantics. That's
It's Rocky.
it's Rocky for sure. I was like, oh, okay, there's the standard guitar that everyone knows.
Yeah.
And then it's like, bam! I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's Josh Engel
My
all the
jingles
way,
are
man.
rocking.
Yeah, that's Josh Engel all the way. It was very much, we had some ideas and we were like, all right, that's cool, that's not cool. But Josh is always trying to make things different. And so we definitely went a route, and and we at first were like, I don't know. And then we were like, that's pretty cool. Let's keep on going with this. So it turned out to be something we didn't expect, but at the same time, Josh's just wings just really shined through that whole entire thing. But yeah.
So, going back to the past, thinking back, what are some of the funniest or worst things that ever happened to you out on a gig? Or
God. The worst thing that's ever happened has been a drummer bailing the night of.
why?
I think there was just a double booking or something like that had happened, and this is very early on in GHR, and we were playing. Where were we playing? I don't even know if it's around. It was at this place called The Circuit I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's a place called the Circuit. It's this little mini venue. You can only fit like 15 or 20 people in it. Yeah, the sound was like really sketchy. I remember like me and Chris, because me and Chris for a long time were just like trying to put like a band together. And those were just really just the trial days of GHR. And it was hard. And one of the drummers that we had practiced with and we were really stoked on, he just basically double booked himself, let me know while I was like doing a video gig. And I was like, what?
Right.
But that's one of the worst things.
What'd you do?
We just played. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure we played acoustic, to be honest with you, which is my bread and butter.
Mm.
So I didn't really care. But like, you're also bummed at the same time being a young artist, and you're like, oh man, we could have went full band.
Right.
But like, that's probably the worst thing that's ever happened. Now you were asking the best thing.
Or the funniest. 'Cause oftentimes they're intertwined. The worst things in the moment.
That's true, but there's a lot of funny moments though. I'm just trying to think here. I could talk about some things, but they wouldn't be.
As long as there's no curse words, it's fine.
Yeah, no, like it wouldn't be appropriate.
Okay.
It wouldn't be appropriate. I'll just, yeah, yeah. We'll just leave that up. Let's just say we have plenty of funny moments because we're all like really close. Whenever we're like recording stuff, it isn't just like, hey, I'm hiring you for this and that's it. It's just a part of like we're a part of each other's family. So like, Josh Engel, Chris Ryder, and Noah, we most of the time will just like get together because Chris lives right next door to Josh's house, and that was kind of like a happy accident happened. And so we like a lot of times what will happen is like we'll just all get together and we're like, oh shoot, we're recording too. Like it's just kind of a convenient thing that just happens and we just have a blast doing it. And I can't tell you like a particular time or anything like that. I can just tell you that most of the time the GoPros are rolling and
Right.
we just have a blast. And Chris is just nonstop giving me a hard time. And Chris has no filter.
I see. Understandable.
So
Yep.
there's nothing like I can't say like, oh, that was a funny time. Like it's just that's just kind of how we are. And it's the same thing with me and Josh. I mean, like we're just laughing our butts off the whole entire time. Our last when we were doing some TikTok videos actually recently in his studio, and there's just some TikTok videos that we're just gonna be dropping that are gonna be really, really, really funny. And it's just very much the bromance that me and Josh have is that we're first really close friends. And that's kind of what happened with this project was that not only was it that I loved recording with him, I just didn't want to stop. And I didn't want to stop because I loved hanging out with him. And that's kind of the same thing that happened with Noah, and that's kind of the same thing that happened with like our whole entire base. Because I just found out that it was just like, and this is just for me. I'm not saying it's the way for everybody, but I just feel like it's really shallow when somebody has just like one goal. They're like, "Hey, you're just here to be a session guitar player."
Right.
Okay, we'll see you later. I'm
Right.
like, that's kind of bad.
Yeah. That's transactional friendships aren't the best.
Do you know what I'm saying?
no, yeah.
Like, I just think it's shallow, and it's just like, no, bro. Like, if we're gonna do some stuff, like, let's go hang out.
Right.
Like, and so like that's very much how I was with you when we first started talking on the phone.
Yes. Very much
I'm
so.
like, all right, I talk about myself all the time. Whatever, I don't care about that. Like,
Right.
let's let's get to know about you and your podcast and like what your goal is and your mission. But I just want to ask you this live. I know I asked you this off air, but like I know people don't want to ask you this question a lot. But like, how have you felt about this last year?
This past year?
Yeah,
That's
man.
the first time I've been asked that. In regards to the podcast,
Yeah,
or
because you've had a big year, man.
I have had a bit. Well, it's my starting year actually.
Yeah, that's the crazy part.
And that is the crazy part. I started in April with Noah Althoff,
Yeah.
the first ever guest on the Story podcast, and I would love to have him again, Noah, if you'd be interested, because boy, have things have changed for the both of us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's been incredible. I've met some of my actual like heroes in music, like Daryl Davis. I don't know if you know him
I
at
don't
all.
think so.
He was the piano player for Chuck Berry, for the longest time.
What?
He played with Jerry Lee Lewis. Played with Bruce Breen,
Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen. That's the one. Before he was Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
He's played with Fats Domino, Chuck Berry. I said Chuck Berry twice. Chubby Checker. That's the one who I was thinking of. All of these great legends. He was in the Muddy Waters National Band for the
That's
longest
so
time.
sick.
It's incredible, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, but he's also this really incredible racial reconciliation work where he goes out into like actual like KKK rallies, and he's black, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, he goes to those meetings and he starts de-radicalizing members of the KKK or the Nazis. Yeah,
What?
like the actual Nazi Party of America.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. He's collected over all of these hoods, and he invited me down to his house. So I got to see all of his collection of the hoods of Roger Kelly, the head. Well, I think they call it the Imperial, whatever. Because they're all wizards.
Yeah.
And he has he was like the top KKK member of Maryland.
Wow.
And he de-radicalized him and all these other people.
Just turn those people over. That's
yeah.
crazy.
Incredible person, incredible musician, and I just went and saw a concert with him last night at Sotropolis. He was there with QDK,
Okay.
and which are some of my other favorite guests.
Yeah.
Because Quentin Jones is a Rockabilly Hall of Fame two-timer, endorsed by Gretsch Guitars.
Yep.
It's incredible. He played with Charlie Gracie for the longest time, one of the top names in folk music. And actually, he's having another concert, New Year's Eve concert with, get this, Annabella from Bow Wow.
What?
Yeah.
What?
He's having that. That's going to be December 31st, I guess, at Mickey's Black Box. So
Dude, I'm telling you, man, like, side note, like, Mickey's Black Box is awesome.
It is.
And it's just like the whole
Rock Lidditz.
Dude,
It's insane.
It's kind of crazy because we talked about this briefly on the phone, and me and Noah were talking about this too. It's just like the whole scene that like Rock Lidditz is just creating right now. It's insane.
It's like L.A. and Lidditz. It's quite literally that.
Yeah, and it's just like you would never think it.
No, you would never. It's just a big black box on the street.
Yeah, but it's also like I think one of the dope things that who was I seeing? I was seeing a show with, and that's the other thing that's great about our team is like we hang out outside of the studio, and it's like our friendships aren't saturated.
That's good.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you
to
mean.
where
Yeah.
it's more authentic. It's
Right,
more
right.
real. And so that's not the purpose. We just like hanging out with each other. But like that's the main goal. Like we saw who did we see? Tiny Moving Parts. Yeah, Tiny Moving Parts, really dope pop punk band. They're so awesome. There's a trio band plugging their amps. Let's go. And the main rhythm guy / singer, he's just so good. He's just so freaking good. But one of the things we were talking about, because like Noah was texting me, and I was like, "Why are you not here?" And he was like, "Dude, you actually might run into Shawn Mendes." And
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
"What?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's recording right over at Studio B right
Yep.
now." And I'm like, "You are kidding me!" And he's like sending me stuff, and he's just like, "Yeah, Ariana Grande was just there the other day."
Yeah, Lady Gaga's been seen around. It's Madonna, not Madonna, but this crazy.
Bieber was there. I think he was
Yeah.
there doing some stuff at
'cause
Atrium, wasn't he?
He was caught at Waffle House, I think, or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was in a newspaper or something.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's what I'm saying right now. It's just like the people who don't know, like especially like with mobile recordings and everything like that. That's one of the things that I did want to touch on here is like our production, just in terms of like really understanding what true production really changed. And like I didn't touch on this a lot, but like with our Zoom calls and everything like that, those are things that we learned from those guys. And because like if you're not into like the actual production and you're just like, hey, let's go to a studio and record, I'm like, well, you're gonna get a
You're gonna get something.
like you're gonna get something, but you're not gonna get what you paid for.
Right.
Like that's just not gonna happen. And that's something that me and Noah and Josh and Carl just like really honed in on was like this stuff should be easy
Mhm.
when we come to the studio. And like we'll come up with extra ideas later. But that was like our main thing. And that was something that we learned from those guys because I can't tell you how many months we spent just on pre-production stuff. We spent so much time on just pre-production stuff, even little stuff, even till the day of like pre-production stuff. I'm like, oh, maybe we should add this, and this. Like I was telling you earlier with my Google Drive and everything like that.
Right.
Like so many notes from our Google Drive or references, and I just encourage that culture, like because it's like that's the way of the future is doing Zoom calls and like actually having those conversations because there's so much potential that you're just missing out on.
Yeah.
And like if you're not with it, you're gonna be
Gonna-
right behind it.
Yep. I have one last question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Well, two. They're both in combined. Are you a Christian?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. I'm just thinking of all the nights I was held up almost hostage by Matt Cross and Noah Althoff talking about Calvinism and
Okay.
and everything. But how does being a Christian influence your music at all, if at all? What? Yeah, there it is.
That's a complicated answer. So basically, I'm a bisexual Christian. And so
That's
basically,
complicated.
yeah, it is complicated. And so basically, the way I don't believe in religion, I believe in faith.
Mm.
And I don't think anybody should be dictated upon one other's beliefs. Your piece is your piece, and that's it. And I just think, and this is just my opinion, I just think when it comes down to churches and everything like that, and I've been around it with that whole entire thing, and it's just, and that's a totally different podcast.
Right, yeah, that's a whole other story.
That's a different podcast, but like might be several of them. But like, but it's just one of them things to where, in a weird way, it's kind of how I discovered who I was,
Mm.
and that's part of that whole long journey. But I just don't believe in a religion. I believe in faith. And whatever your faith is, Christian or being a Muslim or Buddhist or anything like that, dude, all the power to you. Like, I'm not going to dictate you just because you're different. Like, I feel like the mentality that needs to change is like people need to stop looking at the black and white instead of what we can actually learn from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we should be having conversations of what we can learn from each other instead of just being like, nah, that's wrong. Like, there is so much of a community of being like, hey, how can I educate? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Educate myself. Not how you can educate somebody else, but educate yourself. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's like my biggest thing is like, in conversations, it isn't just like I'm puffing my chest out and seeing, oh, this is what I can teach this person. Nah, bro. Because everybody's experience is different.
Right.
Everybody looks at life differently, and it's like life is too short to, especially like, yeah, like life is too short to just be like, hey, I know everything. Like, nah, bro. Like, I want to learn from you. I want to know what your experience was here because like my perception and opinion on things could be totally different from how you see it. And I think if anything in the last 10 years I learned was that the difference between being biased and being emotional, vice versa, to being objective and observant. And I think there's a lot that you can learn by just being the crowd in the conversation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
And so like that's very much how I look at it. And it's been a journey, you know, being a bisexual Christian and everything. It's still a journey. I haven't figured it out. But like Like, there are things I figured out, but there are things I'm
Right.
still figuring out, man. But it's also like, I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, this is the only way to do it." My biggest thing is just like, I just feel like us as a nation and as a body needs to basically be able to create a space that you can be protected, that you can be loved, and just say, "Hey, man, like, I've got your back." And as long as you got that, who cares?
Mhm.
Like, that was the whole goal with Jesus to begin with. Like, he was just trying to love people. And it just feel, and I might get hated for this, but it's just like, I just feel like a lot of Christians nowadays are modern day Pharisees.
I'd agree.
And that's just my opinion. Like, I just feel like there's just this norm of a lot of Christians that are just like, they're just modern day Pharisees. And it's just like, bro, you need to look in the mirror there for a little bit. So that's my beliefs.
Well, with that said, what's worship to you?
What's that?
What's worship to you?
Oh, God. I just think, again, it's just an expression of the heart.
Mm.
And in any way that you express your heart to God, that's your own way. And I don't think that should ever be dictated by anyone,
No, of course not.
because it's like, it's your communication with God. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's not how everybody else sees it. Like, because at the end of the day, it's just you and him in a room. He sees everything that you're going through and stuff like that. So, like, why does it really matter what everybody else thinks, or you going by the quote unquote rules?
Right. Well, it's been fun.
Yeah, this is good conversation, man.
So, where can people find you?
Oh God! All right, so
Oh,
you,
God. Oh,
you
God.
could go on Facebook and you just look up Jon Garcia and Hope for Semantics. You can go on Instagram, and the thing is JHR Music, all caps. What do we have?
TikTok.
We have our TikTok. It's just JHR John. And those are just like our main ones. And then you go on Spotify and just look up Jon Garcia and Hope for Semantics. Please follow us.
Yeah, right.
Please follow us. Check out our music. We're going to be launching our single on January 1st, and then on New Year's Eve. It's going to be literally right at 12 o'clock when we're going to be dropping that. So we are so excited about it. And I just wanted to say, just cutting off, like, first thing, thank you so much
Oh, of course, man.
for having me a part of this. Like, this is so awesome. This is such a cool space, and I've just been following your work, and like, I just think ever since Noah, like, I just think you're doing a really cool thing here, and I just think you're really creating like a really dope community here.
Thanks. Yeah, that's the goal here. And soon enough, I'll be putting on concerts.
Really?
Featuring guests, because
Oh,
I
that's
have
awesome.
I have this whole roster of people that I can
Yeah.
select from.
Yeah.
And my biggest dream would to be having my own venue and a week. It'd be a week-long concert.
Oh,
And
that's sick.
and it would one day would be all pop, whatever.
Yeah.
And then next day all punk rock, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Alternative rock, all the categories under rock. Next day all rap. Next day maybe I'll bring in an orchestra and have like sight reading of new works
Yeah.
by composers, whatever. And that'd be it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And of course I'd have headliners and all that jazz, but most of it would just be your local bands or your small time artists.
Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool.
So that's what I'm gearing up now to do. So be sure, if you want to stay tuned for all of that, make sure you follow us. And you can find us anywhere. The Story, Corey Rosen. That's CORYROSEN. We're on Facebook, Instagram, also TikTok, and we also have a website coming out very, very soon. It's CoreyRosenProductions.com. It's not set up yet, but it will be very, very, very soon. Also, if you want to check out any future guests we have coming up this Thursday, Dujuan Rosado. He is known as spoken music in this community. He does really good work with spoken word and rap. He's also has a collective called the Them Collective. I'm excited to hear more about that. And then Friday, we have Stephen Courtney, and he is a children's music writer. guess what? He has 5 songs on Sesame Street.
What?
Yeah, he's written 5 songs for Sesame Street.
Oh, that's cool.
That's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So I'm excited to talk to him about all of that. And also, I do believe next Sunday we will have an episode with my good old friend Nick Manuel, a worship leader that went to here. He's a good friend of mine, and I'm really excited to hear all the things that he had to say.
That's awesome.
With all that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you guys later.
All right.
Bye.